All right. You ready? Hi, Courtney.
Hi, good morning, Ricardo.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Force for Growth, another riveting episode. I'm Ricardo.
I'm Courtney. Happy Friday. And today we are going to be recapping just, I guess, our overall experiences with UPW. But we are on the beginning of day 2 of UPW Virtual, which is a Tony Robbins event, by the way. But just stay tuned and we'll give you the goods of what we're going through right now.
All
Uh,
right. So,
yeah.
UPW. What is UPW? UPW is Unleash the Power Within. It
Yes.
is the entry level Tony Robbins event, right? And typically, when it was in person, this is where you would do the infamous Firewalk. Now they've changed it up to UPW Virtual, which is all about the board break.
Board. Yes.
So, this was your first time experiencing the virtual. I've been doing it since the first one. What do you think of the virtual compared to the real one?
Yeah, so I was really just interested. This was one thing I was kind of skeptical about, but I mean, it's Tony's team, so of course it's going to be blown out of the water. But basically, it was the factors that are missing, like being with the massive crowd and the massive, because we do have a small group, but there are aspects of you get to see other people going through it. And like the Zoom will pop up. I don't know. It was the couples dancing together and just holding each other after the sweet gratitude meditations and things like that. And that Grace pointed at a great point. She's like, at the event when we're an attendee, it's like we never turn around and see how others are going through it. Granted, you're going to see amazing things. You're going to witness like great things in person or virtual, but there's just another aspect to it because I guess my focus is more on them without the distraction because they're popped up on the screen. So there's a very intimate, plus you're looking in people's homes and I don't know.
It's
So it's
for
like,
it's voyeuristic. It's
yeah,
voyeur because you see people in their homes, in their living room, and I
yeah,
think at some point they forget that they're on Zoom.
yeah,
At some point, I believe they forget they're on Zoom and they're just doing what they do, and they're like, "Oh, okay."
hmm,
I don't, they don't. I don't think they realize that we're 30,000 people are essentially watching you on the main screen, which is
yeah.
cool.
And I loved seeing at the beginning of the day, I don't know, it would pan on somebody dancing and they'd kind of get shy, or like you'd see people leave the screen. But then towards the end, like every single person they'd put the main camera on, or I mean, pull into the main focus, would see they're on camera and go crazy. And so I'm kind of like, okay,
I
I'm
think it's more
digging the
intimate.
virtual thing.
It's more intimate. It's more
Yeah.
intimate. The one thing that I really like about the virtual versus the in-person event is that Tony can see you and he'll call you out like, "I see you and your dog,
Yeah.
Courtney. You look fantastic with your dog."
Yeah.
Right? "Oh, Ricardo, you got an army over there." Yeah,
Hmm.
like stuff like that.
And
I
he's close, like it feels like he's right there the way that
Yeah,
they do the screen, which is nice.
it's very intimate. It's very
Mhm.
intimate. "I like your dancing."
Yeah.
"Hey, I like your dancing." So the fact that he can call you out by name, I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one of the pros about the virtual event. What are some of the cons about the virtual event versus in-person event?
I don't wanna go there in my brain, but yeah, I mean, it's the energy. Nothing can top the energy that gets generated in that room or that arena or that auditorium when 10,000 or 20,000 people are doing a gratitude prayer together at the
Yeah.
same moment with that same powerful song that we're all anchored to, like just anyway, it kind of makes me emotional talking about it. And then two, whenever you get dancing and in peak state, nothing tops dancing with 20,000 other people in the same
Yes.
room. And nothing will ever top that. And I can't wait until we have in person ones again. However, man, does a virtual really do its best. And I mean, I had a blast. I had a blast yesterday with you guys, so
So
I'm
here's the
excited. Thank
thing.
you.
If you've been contemplating going to a Tony Robbins event for years and you're waiting for it to come back in person so you can go in person because you don't want to experience virtual, they do a really good job with the virtual event and you should just go.
Yeah.
You should just go. And then obviously when there's an opportunity to go in person, go in person.
Yeah.
But for now, if this is what it is and this is how you can experience Tony Robbins and not have to pay for travel, not pay for airfare, not pay for hotel, all these other things, um, do it. Don't
Yeah.
hesitate. I
It's
definitely recommend it. They do a good job replicating the in-person event versus the virtual event. They do a really good job transitioning that over.
they do. It's impressive. It's
It's very
impressive.
impressive. So if you're hesitating, go to the virtual event.
Yes.
Don't think twice about it. The next one's in June. Go.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Go.
I
Because
wanna crew them. I haven't so now that I'm participating in the virtual, next up, I wanna crew the virtual, but to be honest, in my life, I just reached a point where I have not actually attended one since 2014. So I haven't actually absorbed the content in its fullness. Now, granted, when you're crew, you get you get some wonderful chances to go participate in things, but I haven't actually experienced the event, and so that's why it was really important. I was like, "I need to pause before I do any more crewing or anything like that. I need to go through the content again because I've grown a lot." But
and see what it's about.
that might mean that, I can grow a lot more because I'm now ready for a lot of that information.
I'm glad you brought that back up because one of the number one questions that I see out there is if you've done UPW so many times, why do you go again? Why do you keep on going, going, going? And I'll tell you a story. Are you ready, Courtney?
Yes.
Okay. So I attended my first UPW in 2014. That was my first live event, even though I've been following Tony for years. And when we were in line at the registration, we were talking to people and chatting with people, and we were meeting people. And some of these people were telling us that this was like their 15th UPW or their seventh UPW, and that they've done Date with Destiny 6 times and UPW 25 times and all these other things, right? And I'm like, wow, are you that messed up that you're doing these events this many times? Are you that jacked up? But I didn't know. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know. So there's two parts to this. One, there's the and I'm gonna say this with love, but there's the idea that you need Tony for a breakthrough, which is not true.
Yeah.
You can create a breakthrough within yourself. You don't need Tony. And then there's two where, okay, I want to go get a refresher. I want to go see what I can get new and notice in this content that I didn't notice before.
Yeah.
Because new things do pop up. New things do pop up,
Yeah. That's
right?
my reasons would be that the event keeps evolving and innovating for the better every year. Every event, I mean, they tweak things, right? But
Correct.
I get better. So then I can actually, there were levels where 5 years ago, I didn't even hear that message because I wasn't ready for it. My brain was
Correct.
growing in other areas. So now I'm ready for the full absorption.
And it's a different brain. The brain that's coming to if you've been to a UPW 3, 4 times, 5 times, and then the brain that's going to the sixth UPW, it's a different brain, a different mind, a different mindset than the first one.
Completely different neurochemistry. Yeah.
Correct. So whenever, for example, last day one, they talk about the 6 human needs. So when you're going through that work, you're talking about the 6 human needs as to where you are now versus to where you were 7 years ago.
Right.
And things change. So the activity is going to be different. So the answers are going to be different. So the process will be the same, but the work and your answers to it will be different.
Mhm. And I mean, it's a thermometer. And so that's where I truly enjoy the 6 human needs one, especially. I was about a month ago, I did it personally where I just sat down and kind of figured out what are my top two leading my life? Are these what I want my top two to be, and etc. So if you've been to UPW, you know what we're talking about. And then so doing it last night, it was kind of like, okay, I didn't even let my brain go there a month ago. So there's just layers and layers and layers if you go deeper. And it's all rooted to the same thing. Like we have such few actual issues, issues, right? Or fears or things. And it just kind of all comes down to one thing or a handful of things. And so that's where it's kind of fascinating. It's like each one I do, it's peel back a level and then, okay, go
It's
live that for
different.
a year and then come back. How can you innovate even better? What else do you need to be revealed to you?
Yeah. So here's the catch. Now, if you've been, let's just say 7 UPWs, I'm just throwing a number out there. If UPW number one, your top two needs were significance and certainty, which he goes into this in day one of UPW, the six
Hmm.
human needs. if your top two needs or something that came out in that work was then 7 UPWs ago or 7 years ago, and today you're answering the questions the same way and having the same answers over the 7 years after 7 UPWs, you got to really take a look at yourself and be like, wait a
Yeah.
second, why am I still experiencing the same situations and the same problems and the same things? And nothing has really changed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a problem. And that's where I think a lot of because let's address it, there's a lot of jokes about like, oh, people drank the Kool-Aid, things like that. And that does exist. There are some super fans, that just you wonder if they really go to the event mentally,
Correct.
they've gone a lot, but you're like, they've heard that lesson 10 times, but they haven't, they're missing the road signs. But like I said, it's easier to judge someone
But
else's
it's
life
easy.
than,
Yeah, it's easy to miss it though. It's so easy
yeah.
to miss it because there's so much going on. There's so much excitement. There's so much high energy. There's so much this and that, right?
Yeah, and it can almost feel like it really does feel like you're taking 4 different seminars in 1 weekend, but so much content comes at you, but that's the beauty of it, and that's where they taught us this on crew. So, okay, first time I crewed, I was on the fence, and I literally just did it because I was like, "Well, that's free access, at least I'll be able to hear it. If
Wait,
not,
wait a
maybe
second. Wait a minute, Courtney. Wait a minute. Are you telling me
I
that
just let a
people
cat
go
out of the
in?
bag."
Are you telling me that people crew events because they think that they're gonna get a free event?
Yes,
Is that what
yes.
you're telling me?
Insert the attendance process created 2019. Okay, you do need to actually work, but it's the Tony Robbins organization. So of course they want, and when you get there on day 0, the crew day that we all come to train before the event actually starts, you're told, "Hey, what do you need out of this? Like, do you need to grow? Do you need to let go of something? Do you need to have a breakthrough in one area? Are you trying to quit an addiction? Like, what do you need out of this?" Because they, as an organization, want to make sure you get what you need too. But the beautiful idea that they teach us, because you're running and anyway, I've done all kinds of positions. So we're always running, doing crazy things. You don't know if you're going to be in the big room, the whole time. And granted, there's areas where crew can sit and watch. And when we're off shift, we're absolutely allowed to go watch in the seminar room. But you're so worried about like, but I want to hear the content. I want to hear what they've changed. I want to hear this part again, because I need it. You'll be in the big room when you need to hear what you need to hear. Just it can be one line, like you can literally just be in the big room for 5 minutes the whole 4 days. You'll hear what you need to hear. And so going into another event as an attendee again, having that appreciation because it absolutely has worked out for me like that the 5 times I've crewed. What I needed personally in the growth area, it was right there. And so that's kind of where it's like, well, I'll absorb what I'm meant to absorb. And it's the freedom to just let the rest go. Let it go, you know?
Hmm.
And that's a power, but I had to get really comfortable with being uncomfortable, in
You
different
have to.
areas to get there.
You have to. So, what's another one of the top questions? So, one, why do you go so many times? Um, what's so great about the UPW? There is a lot of hype. There's a lot of, I'm not going to say hype because that makes it seem like it's artificial hype, and that's
Yeah,
not necessarily the case.
it's
There's
true.
a lot of sincere excitement around this event because people really want to grow. People really want to experience a breakthrough. People really want to better themselves,
Mhm.
right? And for the people that have attended before, this was a pivotal moment in their lives that they attended the UPW. Granted, for the majority of people, for a lot of people, this is their first experience into self development.
Mhm.
And UPW is not a lightweight
Yeah, I was about
event.
to say, and you're taking on like a 1,000-page book for,
Correct, correct.
lesson
You're
1.
jumping. You're like if self development was a pool, you're with going to UPW as with your first event, you're going kind of on the deep end. You're
Yeah,
closer to the deep end than you are to the shallow end. Now, if
yeah,
you went to straight to date with destiny without going to UPW, that would be in my mind you jumping straight into the deep end.
yeah,
But since you're going to UPW, you're kind of going. You're still in the deep end, but instead of the 15 foot, you're like in the 12 foot.
yeah, yeah. You can
Right.
still find the bottom real quick, but yeah,
Yeah.
you had to.
You're still there though. You're still
It's
there.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it, but with that said, it's not saying you need to do anything else before you PW. It is gonna be a real experience in your face, like, "Are you ready to change this?"
Correct.
Decision, let's talk about it, decision. I would most no, not that's not fair, but a lot of day 1 is just teaching you the importance of decisions and how your decisions shape your life, and there's layers to a lot of that and
Correct.
dozens of lessons that I'm trying to figure out how to sum up real
And
quick.
state, they want a state.
Yeah.
All about state management, managing your state, managing your emotions, managing how you react to something.
Mhm.
That's all they want. And all of that helps you make better decisions.
Mhm. Yep. And not making a decision is a decision. And, leaving options on the table when you know what you want, that's still a decision, that so it's just that reminder. So I've heard that dozens of times, right? And but it's more powerful now because I
Mm,
I get it. I've lived it. I've practiced it for years. I've practiced that muscle. I've practiced that skill. So when I hear that lesson again, it just drives it anchors it deeper with
I
more
have one.
meaning that are authentic. So
I have
yes,
one, Courtney.
you tell me more.
Okay, one that I heard on this particular UPW, the virtual UPW, since the virtual UPW events have been going and in person has not been happening. But I want to do the firewalk versus the board break. The
Mhm.
board break sounds so lame. Okay, so
Yeah.
here's
Break
my
it down
thing
for
to
me.
that. Here's my answer to that. Okay, is there something fabulous and super exciting about the firewalk? Of course there is. I'm not gonna deny that. Does breaking a board give you that same excitement as is it? It's two totally different things.
Mhm.
However, that's not the point.
Right.
That's not the point. You're not there to just to be able to say, "Ooh, I walked on fire. Ooh, I did this. Ooh, I jumped off a mountain." No, that's not what this is for. It's a metaphor. The board and the firewalk are a metaphor for life.
Mhm.
They're a metaphor for breaking through. They're a
Yes.
metaphor for doing something that you may not typically do on a Thursday evening.
Yep. Break that pattern.
Correct. It's a pattern interrupt. And
Mhm.
that's all it is. So if you're overthinking it like, oh, and different stuff comes up. For some people, I know people that the firewalk was super easy. They just glided through. But then the board break was intimidating. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
you know, like, okay, like this is kind of intimidating to break this board.
Yeah.
Right? And the same thing when we did the arrow break, not at UPW. This is a different event, but different things come up with different elements, with different challenges, with different things that come up in your life.
Mhm.
And it's all about how you handle them, how you perceive them, and how you frame them.
Mhm. That's how I firewalked 4 times and it still scares me, okay? It still would be a test for me to get up there and actually do it. But that's why I still need to keep doing it every opportunity I get, right?
Correct.
But the board break, I've done it before. It just that I made real small in my brain. So here's my point because on day 1 we learned a lot about this, okay? So if you that means I'm making the firewalk a massive monster in my brain, right? I'm literally putting it on this pedestal and making it this intimidating thing. I've done it before. It's about 4 or 5 steps in a certain state, get across, you're done, right? Like I literally know the back of my hand how to do it, but that emotion would paralyze me for a minute. Whereas a board break, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, that doesn't intimidate me. I wanna feel powerful, like, let's go, come on." So I'm making that real small in my head, right?
Correct.
And so if you wanna elaborate on that at all, but yeah, it's just we have choices and we make decisions about how big of a meaning and the type of meaning we apply to things. So that's just an example that to highlight kind of an important lesson that I took home yesterday is that, stop making certain things so scary that if you reverse engineer that, you know how to do that, right?
Correct.
And, yeah, fear might show up, but then why do I make certain things so small? Where I'm like, that's easy. Are you kidding me? And where other people having different issues. So it's just like pay attention to how big and what meanings you're applying to things because those are decisions too.
Correct. Because at the basic level, the firewalk and the board break serve the same exact purpose.
Yeah.
The same exact purpose.
Both extremely powerful.
Correct. To create a breakthrough.
Hmm.
Same exact purpose. So again, If you're looking and been considering going to an event, this is your opportunity to do so.
Yes.
Go
And we
to the
highly,
virtual
highly
event.
suggest it. So,
Yeah,
oh, and another, let's see, I just opened it up. I took so many notes, but make a decision, not a preference. A preference is what you like. A decision means there's no other options. But yeah, it's just
it's
so
good
much
stuff.
good stuff. So feel free if you are participating to drop us a lesson or two that you took home or golden nugget. And yeah, just check it out. Be open to it if you're
So
curious.
real quick, we've recapped a couple of the main questions about UPW and things like that. Compared the virtual with the live event, all of this other stuff. What's day 2 about?
Day two is momentum closing the gap.
Yes.
So yeah, this is
So
our day
our
two.
so
Woo,
our good
get
friend
ready.
Joseph McClinton the third comes in for day 2,
Yes.
and he talks about closing the gap, and he leads you through some beautiful meditations and exercises, and they like to call him Mr. Shake Your Ass, which
Yeah, I was about to say we got to do hashtag shake your ass.
you'll learn about that later on. And day 3 is transformation day.
Mhm.
So Tony get guides you through a process, a very powerful process
Extremely powerful.
to transform and get rid and squash and eliminate any limiting belief that you may have.
And redesign it
Correct.
afterwards.
And again, this is all up to you though. You still have to do the work. Tony doesn't do it for you. And he says that over and over again. Tony does not do the work for you.
Mhm.
You have to do the work.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of people go through the UPW a couple of times and they don't get much out of it because they're, for whatever reason. There's no need to go into detail about that, right?
Yeah.
But you still have to do the work. You
Yeah.
still have to do it, right?
Mhm.
Regardless of what day you choose to show up and really step up and do the work. It's equivalent.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
amount of effort you put into it is the amount of the breakthrough that you're going to get.
Absolutely. And then day 4 is more about just overall life vitality. So he'll touch on diet, he'll touch on water, air, breathing techniques, things like that. But
Correct.
it's more about just sustainable steps to live in a beautiful state. I believe Master Co has a beautiful meditation that he will do on day 4. So
Yes.
yeah, just
Yeah,
how
Master
to
Co
keep
will
it
wrap up the
sustainable.
day in day 4.
Hmm.
Yeah. And
Always.
again, it's all about health and energy because you can learn all these tools and strategies. And if you don't have the health and vitality and energy to execute, what
Yep.
good is it?
Yep. How happy
What
can
good
you
is it?
be? How happy and successful, if you don't have your health and you don't get to live a full life. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. This is good. So tell me, Courtney, what
Yes.
has been one over all the UPWs that you've attended, crude and everything? What everything put together in the bag? What's your one biggest thing that you've taken away from a UPW?
Oh, okay. That was a big one. Just that I have the power, and there was a reason I was sent on this path because the power was always within me, but I had to open like an advent calendar at Christmas, right? I had like all these boxes I had to open and unpack each one, and each one would take me deeper into myself and deeper to know my true power. So, admittedly, I'm still working on that and practicing this, but I am so certain I am worthy and of my power, and I just want to build and create on that and keep growing and making it better, innovating it. So yeah, that's my overall UPW gives me the ticket, gives me the
Nice.
key.
I really put you on the spot there, didn't I?
You did. I had no idea what was going to come to mind.
But that's what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, what
yeah.
about yourself? So
All right.
all UPWs, all No Date with Destiny, all UPWs, crewed and attended.
Wow. That is an intimidating question. Now that it's
Yes.
back on me. Okay, two things. Number one, state. State. Managing your state. Day one, all about managing your state. Peak state, beautiful state. Managing your state, managing your emotions, and knowing that you have the ability to change that state in how long? In an instant.
Yes.
And number two, UPW was a turning point for me and Jesse's relationship because we talked about things that we had never talked about before. And she made some distinctions, and I made some distinctions that really improved our relationship.
Yeah, that's powerful.
And so we broke one of the big cardinal rules about attending UPW, and that's attending with your spouse, attending with your significant other. And we just broke that rule, and it is what it is.
Mhm.
But we're better for it. It worked
Yeah.
out for us.
Yeah. You did you made a decision, you know what's best for you. So
Yeah, it worked
all you
out for
need
us.
is that certainty and that courage, being open to just be more flexible in that certainty and play around in that creative area and just I mean, oh my gosh, so many things are flooding, but it's like the words you use, like if you keep using pissed off, okay, well, I'm
Yeah,
peeved. Think of it what it tinkled. Like think of an odd word that your brain's like, okay, that it breaks your pattern because it's funny. It's you can't be so frustrated and angry if you're like, oh, I'm tinkled. Like what?
oh,
You know,
make that face again, Courtney.
I don't know.
So what? So frustrated.
So frustrated. But yeah, but just get creative with your words. And a big one Tony always points out is I'm not frustrated. Well, if you're when you're frustrated, instead be fascinated. And he tells a money story about how his one of his companies lost 125,000, and so the employee thought Tony would come at him like he normally did, angry and 6'8" and where'd that money go? Why? Loud and deep voice. And so instead, he approached this employee when he brought him the news and was like, that's fascinating. How did that happen? I'm curious. But you can see it in his face. He's trying to change his pattern. But what he's saying is, oh, wow, that's fascinating. I'm curious. How did that happen? But the employee, the next time there was a money hiccup, brought it to him right away where they prevented it from happening versus the employee being scared to approach him because he's this big scary monster.
Yeah.
And just little things like that. So just as you're going through your day, if there's a word you use all the time, like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed for, oh, blah, blah, change it. Figure out a different way to flip it and just break the pattern. So, I mean, oh, the power's in our hands. It's just, we need to look at it.
Yes.
No?
So this was your first UPW virtual experience.
Yes.
Would you
Yes.
recommend UPW virtual?
Highly. Yes. Very much so. Highly. Highly. Yeah,
It's a good event.
it
I
is.
definitely agree. And I will say this because we're all about honesty and openness here. I was so skeptical about virtual UPW. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, "What? It's not going to be the same. It's not. There's no way. There's no way. There's
Yeah.
no way they're going to be able to duplicate and replicate the powerful environment that is a UPW. There's
Mm-hmm.
no way." And so I went. We registered for the very first one. I didn't want to crew. Me and Jesse attended. We registered. We bought our ticket, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it was great. Even the first one where it was buggy. They had some stuff to work out, and they're just they believe in Kanai. The Tony Robbins Research International believes in Kanai, and that's
Mm-hmm.
constant and never ending improvement.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
the first UPW virtual versus this UPW virtual, while the core and the basics are the same, two totally different events.
Really, I believe that. I liked listening to y'all's feedback yesterday as
Yeah,
just certain factors that weren't in the first one, apparently. So it's just, I love it because things change every time. Like
correct.
you never
So
know.
I tip my hat to Tony
Yeah.
Robbins and Robbins Research for practicing and implementing Kanai
Hmm.
and just saying, hey, we're going to do this first UPW virtual and we're just going to do what we can and do our best and figure out what we need to change
Yep.
and consistently working out the bugs with the virtual events
And
and
now,
just
I mean,
improving.
it's so impressive. Yeah,
It's
it's
very impressive.
the process that goes into this. Like, man, I know it takes the crew of 1,000 to run an event, but so much just amazing innovation. So I find it really inspiring just to watch the pattern of the actual organization updating each
Yes.
time.
And it's not to say that there won't be issues. It's not to say that there won't be any technical issues or mishaps that may come up. We're just saying that they're always working on improving the process.
Yes.
And for that reason, I give my thumbs up to UPW virtual Tony Robbins event.
Yes. Yes. I give 2 thumbs up. Okay.
Oh, fine. I'll give two thumbs up and two pinkies up.
Okay. You got it,
If,
Ebert.
if
Okay.
you just want to go there with me, Courtney Carr.
I'm
All
impressed. So
right.
I'm excited for day 2. So
Day
let
two.
us know if you're in the mix with us or let us know if you're
What's going
curious.
on?
But yeah,
Yeah.
happy Friday.
Thank you so much for tuning in. And remember to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Force for Growth. And remember to be a force for good
Force for growth.
and a force for greatness.
Bye.
Bye.